So now we're going to get into agents a little bit. So when styling agents choose to work with you basically based on your portfolio. I mean, they meet you and they decide if they like you or not, but it's whether your work resonates with them or not. So they have to think about, most agents that I've worked with have quite a few stylists. And they have to be really careful about what voice they bring on that goes into their roster for quite a few reasons. So this is what I really considered when I was looking for an agency. At first, the agencies I wanted were like, you're a baby. Like, I was like gonna be the little like baby kindergartner on a roster of like the most senior stylists in the world. And they were like, we love your work, we love what you're doing, keep doing it, we're not the ones right now, like that. And I was like, oh, okay. And so I just started meeting with everyone who I thought had any kind of reputable business, like all the stylist agents. And meeting with agents, you can meet with agents when you're an assistant. Agents will meet with people because they want to know. They want to know who's out there, they want to know who's good, they want to know what good assistants there are. They will meet with, seriously, like, even a lot of like my agent will meet with almost anyone who calls and sends them a book and is serious and is a really professional person about it. He will absolutely take a meeting because he wants to know. And he also sits there with people he's not taking on, and he gives them really amazing coaching. And that's what the agents do, and that's what these people did with me the first time I went out in New York, because I couldn't even get an agent in London because the competition was so insane. Even though I was fashion editor at Pop, senior fashion editor at Pop, couldn't get an agent. And I was like, and there were people watching me. Like, there were people, oh, you're amazing, like, keep going, like, figure it out. I just wasn't there yet. And when I moved back to New York and I was working for Vogue, and I was like, okay, I work at Vogue and Pop, like, please, someone give me, you know. And I started going around and meeting people, and the advice they were giving me was, like, huge. And they were helping me figure out that I needed to show my voice, and I needed to show that I could create consistent stories and powerful images that were gonna sell products. And agents can see, they can look at books and see that. The great thing about agents is they're a lot like clients. They're not like us. They're not the creative artists. They're the client. So I ended up with an agency who was on the smaller side, but still been around for a long time. And I got there, and it was great because, like, for the first time I had a strategist, like someone else to think with. Because I think that's the hardest thing about what we do as stylists is usually we're kind of in our own bubble. Like, we're in our bubble with our assistants, if we're lucky. We have assistants to think with. And on job to job, we're collaborating with we're collaborating with photographers, we're collaborating with magazine editors, but there's no one we're consistently really like sitting down and talking to every day about our business. And that's the amazing thing for me when I got an agent, was that I could call someone every day and talk to him about my business. You know, like, what's going on, what do I have coming up, how do I take care of it, you know, and suddenly had someone to be in conversation with, because I mean, that's how we learn and think, is not just like the schizophrenic conversations we have with ourselves, but the conversations that we have with other people. So it's, yeah, so it was huge for me when I finally had someone to work with. And then, so what happened, I ended up moving agencies because I realized, I started looking at the other stylists on the roster, and nobody was making over $250,000 a year, which $250,000 is great. It's great to make that much money as a stylist. But my heroes make like $1 to $4 million a year. And so I started to realize that my agent's capacity, he couldn't handle the kind of career I wanted. So I was like, okay. And so I started looking, and it was really hard. It was so hard to switch agencies because everybody talks like it's like a sewing circle in fashion. Like, word got out in a day that I was meeting with other people and got back to my agency, and then I had to deal with that. But, you know, I was with my first agency for a year, and it was so necessary for me to do that before going to the big guys, because I was able to build my book with editorial. They got me editorial I would have never gotten before because of their prior relations. Because when you get an agent, they have so many relationships that they open you up to. Some of them are great, and some of them are totally crap. And you're like, oh my God, wow, I can't do this. But there were so many great experiences, because it's about practice in the beginning too.